If you take a look at the Genshin Lunar version 2 banners, the choice is actually pretty clear. Pull for Furina, skip everyone else, and wait for the upcoming banners featuring Durin or even Columbina. We are only getting one brand new 5-star character for version Lunar 2, which is Nefer. She'll be accompanied by several rerun characters, Furina, Arlecchino, and Zhongli. But the real question is, who's actually worth bringing home to your account? Or should we just save up our Primogems dispatch to prepare for Durin and Columbina instead? In this video, I'll try to help you prioritize which characters are truly worth pulling and which ones to skip, while also considering the future banners for Lunar version 3 and 4. Disclaimer, everything I say here is purely based on my personal opinion, so feel free to disagree. Let's get started. The first banner will welcome us with a brand new character from nodkrai, Nefer. As explained in the special program, Nefer is a Dendro main DPS whose attack focused on Lunar Bloom damage. She might be a bit selfish and greedy since she will consume every Dendro core created by her team during battle to enhance her own personal damage. This means you will no longer be able to trigger Hyper Bloom or any other related reactions. Nefer's playstyle revolves around charge attacks, and she even has a special charge attacks that does not consume stamina once she enters her Shadow Dance state, which is activated simply by pressing her elemental skill. This skill is what transforms all Dendro cores into special ones that can no longer trigger Hyper Bloom, Burgeon, or even Super Bloom. These special seeds are consumed each time Nefer performs her special charge attack to increase her elemental mastery, which directly boosts her Lunar Bloom damage. Nefer also requires at least one nodkrai character in the team who can make the moon sign become Ascendant Gleam, a condition necessary to convert regular Dendro cores into seeds of the seed, or in other words, Nefer's signature Dendro cores. She's also capable of speeding up the recovery of Verdant Dew stacks, which are crucial when unleashing Lunar Bloom damage. The higher her elemental mastery, the faster the Verdant Dew generates. In reality, Nefer's combos and gameplays are quite easy to execute. All you need to do is set up your support units, switch to Nefer, press E to convert and consumes the Dendro cores, then perform her special charge attack 3 times. Repeat the process, and finally unleash her burst to finish the enemies off, especially if their HP is already low. However, what might make some Genshin players hesitant to pull for her is the fact that her team composition is still somewhat restricted. Not as restricted as Nilo, whose team can only consist of Hydro and Dendro units, but it's safe to say that Nefer heavily relies on Lauma to perform at her peak potential, much like the bond between Flints and Ineva. Surely she can still perform decently without Lauma, but her damage will drop significantly if Lauma is not present in the team. If you already have Lauma and are playing Hyper Bloom, then your Dendro team is likely already strong. For now, Lauma remains the only character capable of truly elevating Dendro teams, as she enhances all Bloom-related reactions, provide a small crit chance, and also reduce Dendro and Hydro resistance on enemies. Nefer's damage is massive, but that's mainly a compensation for her grit, the fact that she consumes all Dendro cores, preventing other Bloom reactions like Hyper Bloom from happening. So if you don't have Lauma yet, it's better to wait for her rerun first. After that, you can upgrade your Lauma team by pulling Nefer. Think of Nefer as a major upgrade for Lauma's team. But remember, Lauma remains the true core and foundation of any Dendro composition right now. For the first phase rerun banner, we will be welcoming the return of Furina, a support and sub DPS unit whose performance in a team truly needs no further proof. She can provide a significant damage boost through the fanfare stacks from her ultimate. The more frequently your teammate's HP increases or decreases, the faster you will reach her maximum damage boost potential. On top of that, her off-field damage contribution is highly valuable, further boosting your team's overall DPS output. Furina also brings plenty of utility, such as enabling certain DPS characters to use the Hunter artifact set, making character building much easier thanks to the free crit rate it provides. And don't forget, she is a Hydro off-field character, and Hydro remains one of the strongest elements in the entire game. Her Hydro application is extremely reliable because of her elemental skill's uptime. It lasts for 30 seconds with only 20-second cooldown, giving it 100% uptime. However, Furina does come with a few drawbacks. When you include her in a team, you will definitely need a healer. The first reason is for survival, since her elemental skill constantly drains your team's HP, leaving them so fragile. The second reason is that a healer helps maximize her fanfare stacks, ensuring her damage buff reach its full potential. Additionally, while her Hydro application is consistent, it's still slower compared to Xingqiu or Yelan. Another issue is her high energy requirement, especially because her ultimate is the core of her kit. Her energy recharge needs can go as high as 200% if she's the only Hydra unit in the team. Despite all that, how does Furina perform in the nodkrai meta? We are now in an era where Lunar Charge and Lunar Bloom reactions play a major role in clearing endgame content efficiently. However, it's important to note that Furina's fanfare damage boost does not increase Lunar Charge or Lunar Bloom damage. In fact, many nodkrai characters currently benefit more from attack percent or elemental mastery goblets rather than generic damage bonus. I'm not saying Furina is bad for nodkrai teams, I'm just saying she might be less effective if your sole purpose is to boost lunar reaction damage. That said, her relevance will never fade for non-nodkrai teams, where she continues to shine as one of the most valuable support units in the game. Therefore, Furina remains an incredibly important unit to have on your account, especially if you don't own her yet. So if you don't have Furina, make her your top priority in this patch. Spend your primogems for her because she's absolutely worth it. How about her C1 or even her signature weapon? Personally, if you are planning to vertically invest in Furina, it's much better to go for her constellations rather than her signature weapon. Her early constellations are very good. With just C1, you immediately start battle with 150 fanfare stacks, which translates to a 37.5% damage boost right off the bat. Keep in mind that at 150 points, your team also gains a 15% incoming healing bonus, which helps them recover more HP. And since the fanfare mechanic increases faster based on the amount of HP restored, this indirectly allows you to build stacks even faster. This constellation also raises the maximum fanfare capacity by 100 points, meaning you can achieve even greater buffs for your team. More fanfare equals to more total team damage. Meanwhile, her C2 takes things even further by speeding up fanfare generation by 3.5 times, making it much easier to reach the cap quickly. Even when you go beyond the normal stack limit, any excess fanfare will be converted into increase in Furina's max HP, which not only boosts her personal damage but also enhances her overall team contribution. With this constellation, Furina's personal damage per rotation increases by roughly 54% compared to C0. So yes, Furina is absolutely worth investing in, even if she does not directly boost lunar reaction damage in the nodkrai meta. Her performance remains incredibly consistent no matter how many updates or new metas come and go. In Phase 2, we will be getting Arlecchino, who can easily be considered one of the strongest pyro DPS units in the game, on par with Malvika. However, in my personal opinion, Arlecchino actually holds the upper hand when it comes to team flexibility. Malvika desperately needs Deadline characters to function at her best, maybe someone like Shilonen to support her, or at least Auroron, if you want to play her in Overload team alongside Chef Ruse. Arlecchino on the other hand has much broader range of viable team options. She can fit into Melt, Vaporize, Overload, Burning, and many other team archetypes without being tied to specific units. She also deals huge raw damage, meaning she does not rely too heavily on amplifying reactions for her power output. On top of that, her gameplay is extremely straightforward. She does not require any complex rotations and does not even depend on her elemental burst to deal damage. Her bursts mainly serve as a sustain tool, since it allows her to heal herself. This is important because Arlecchino is a unit that cannot receive any healing from other teammates. She can only self-heal through her ultimate, which unfortunately comes with a fairly high energy cost. Because of that, you will need to invest a little energy recharge in her build, or simply pair her with a shielder to make your gameplay experience smoother. Despite that limitation, Arlecchino remains one of the most powerful, flexible, and beginner-friendly DPS units you can pick up in this patch. However, despite all the drawbacks, Arlecchino remains a unit with incredibly consistent performance, much like Furina since her first banner release. Even after the arrival of the Natlan region, she has received indirect buffs when paired with Natlan characters, gaining access to massive bonus through the Cinder City set. Her performance has only improved further after Citlali's banner was released. Citlali can effectively utilize Cinder City, providing a shield for sustain and interruption resistance, while also increasing Arlecchino's personal damage output by reducing enemies' pyro resistance. On top of that, Citlali can occasionally cause Arlecchino's attacks to trigger melt reactions, further boosting her DPS. Even though Arlecchino does not benefit from the nodkrai meta, that doesn't change the fact that she remains one of the best DPS units in the game. So for those of you who do not have her yet, she's definitely a worthy investment. Our dear father still holds her crown. Now, how about her signature weapons or constellations? Just like Furina in this patch, her early constellations are really strong, At C1, she gains a significant damage boost from her Bond of Life consumption. This constellation also makes her much more comfortable to play, as it grants her strong interruption resistance, allowing her to fight safely without relying on a shielder. However, when deciding between her signature weapon and constellation, you should first check your own Arlecchino's current setup. If she's still using a 4-star weapon, then I highly recommend pulling for her signature weapon first. But if your Arlecchino already wields a 5-star weapon, at least something like the Primordial Jet Wing Spear, then it's worth going for her first constellation to enhance her overall gameplay experience and comfort on the field. What if you already have Mavica and still want to pull for Arlecchino? That depends on how complete and well built your Mavica setup is. Make sure your Mavica is fully built and supported by key Natlan characters such as Shilonen, Oraron, and Citlali. If they are already in your account and well invested, then it's perfectly fine to skip Arlecchino this time around. We are getting to father figures in phase 2, first Arlecchino and now Zhongli. Not gonna lie, Zhongli's shield is still considered the strongest and thickest in the entire game. His playstyle is also incredibly simple. All you have to do is set up his shield by holding E, and that's it. But the value he provides does not come only from his shield. His elemental skill also reduces all elemental resistance of enemies, even physical resistance. He does not really rely on his elemental burst, nor does he need his signature weapon, because let's be honest, it's ass. On top of that, his early constellations are not really worth chasing either. Although Zhongli was once worshipped as one of the most essential characters in the game, his relevance has slightly declined due to the arrival of stronger or more flexible alternatives, such as Citlali. While Citlali's shield may not be as thick as Zhongli's, she offers other valuable factors that can make her a higher priority for many players. First, she also provides enemy resistance reduction, though limited only to Hydro and Pyro elements. Still, don't forget that Citlali can buff the entire team's damage output thanks to the Cinder City artifact set. But Zhongli can also use Archaic Petra, right? Yes, that's true. Zhongli can grant a damage bonus to his teammates through the crystallized reaction based on the elemental crystal that DPS absorbs. However, this requires extra effort during combat, since you need to manually pick up the crystal to receive the buff. In fast-paced battles, that's not always efficient, and at the end of the day, efficiency matters the most. So, the final pull priority summary for this patch. The first one is Furina. If you care about the meta, she should be your first priority. Her constellations are great if you want to invest further. And the second one is Arlecchino. Pull her signature weapon if she's still using a 4-star, or go for C1 if she already wields a 5-star. And then the third one is Never. Only pull her if you already have Laoma, since she heavily relies on that synergy. And the last one is Zhongli. Still solid and reliable, but now somewhat overshadowed by newer options like Citlali. At the end of the day though, always pull for the characters that you love first. If that's what makes you enjoy playing Genshin, then that's the most important thing. Before we wrap up this video, it's best that we also take a quick look at a few characters who are expected to appear in the next 2 upcoming versions. The first one is Durin, who will most likely arrive in patch 6.2 or Lunar 3. He's an off-field DPS whose role might be comparable to Xiangling. His skill grants him 2 distinct modes. If you use his skill followed by a normal attack, he will enter support mode, where his off-field elemental burst will have a large AoE but lower multipliers. In this mode, he can also reduce the elemental resistance of enemies affected by pyro reactions triggered by your team. Meanwhile, in DPS mode, the off-field AoE becomes smaller, but the damage multipliers grow much higher. Additionally, the melt and vaporize reaction damage from Durin will receive a boost. What's making players a bit skeptical about Durin for now is his dependence on certain characters, specifically members of the Hexen Circle. When you have 2 Hexen Circle's characters in the same team, both Durin's support and damage multipliers are doubled. Still, keep in mind that this is all early information, so let's wait and see how he actually performs once his beta testing begins. Regardless, Durin is definitely worth keeping in mind when deciding whether to spend your Primogems or save them for the Lunar 2 patch. As for Columbina, her full kit is still unknown, but what's clear is that she will play a major role in boosting Lunar reaction damage in the nodkrai meta. It's also very likely that if she is in your team, she will be able to trigger Lunar Charge or Lunar Bloom reactions, even without other nodkrai characters present. And that's about it for this who to pull video. I hope this helped you decide whether to pull in the upcoming patch or save your Primogems for future characters. Thanks for watching, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys on my next one.